Thank you for joining me for another Quick Hits conversation. I'm Dr. Robyn. With me today, I have Bill Lindquist, Jim Haile, and Janice Dru-Bennett. The question I want to ask, are procrastination and laziness the same thing, or are they different? Jim, can you kick us off?
I believe they're different. Laziness to me is a non-action. It's a physical thing, whether it's mentally or physically with your body. It's a lack of energy versus procrastination to me is more of a managed thought process. It's regarding delays. So you may delay because you may want your kids to do it, or you may want a subordinate to do something. You may delay it because you want to get more facts before you do something. And the third reason is you may delay it because you want to see how the natural process turns out. And it may turn out to a state that you don't have to do anything.
Okay, so procrastination is purposeful, laziness is just not doing something. Okay.
No, I think the way I thought this, I do think there's maybe some, the diagram where the two may connect at times. I mean, if my wife described me, she'd probably say I was more of a procrastinator than less of a procrastinator. And sometimes, like, if you get an assignment and it's 2 weeks away and it's like, all right, I'm going to wait till the last 2 days to do it because, and that's kind of an approach. And sometimes it's just, I need the energy and the deadline being much closer than being far away. I don't, it's funny, I don't look at a procrastinator as being lazy. I would look at somebody who's lazy, probably procrastinating, so I kind of view them differently. And, sometimes, and I agree with Jim, sometimes procrastination it could be an issue of being indecisive because you're not sure, you want to wait to get more information. So procrastination, to me, I guess I view it less as laziness, as either an approach that you take, or you are looking for more information. You're kind of waiting to the bitter end, or as Jim said, maybe a younger family member will come in and do the job.
Janice, what did you think?
Yeah, and I think of procrastination and laziness as either traits and or behaviors. So I can call myself a procrastinator or someone who's lazy, or I can say my behavior is I'm procrastinating. I think Jim did a good job of describing strategic procrastination or purposeful procrastination, versus Bill's description is a little bit more, I think, of a trait that sometimes people like to push things off and take their time to do things. And my initial gut reaction is that procrastination and laziness are not the same thing. There can be some overlap, but I was thinking of how I feel. Like when I'm procrastinating, I don't feel like doing this now. When I'm lazy, I don't feel like doing it at all. And perhaps thinking of the opposite, the opposite of being a lazy person might be being a hardworking person, but the opposite of a procrastinator might be somebody who gets things done early or on time.
I know for me, the reason I don't procrastinate on stuff is I want to leave room in my schedule for emergencies. So if I know something is due 2 weeks from now, if I have time to get it done, I'm going to do it now. So if there's an emergency between now and 2 weeks, I don't have this thing to do that I knew about and the emergency thing that's coming up. So for me, procrastination is about maybe I'll do something else, or maybe I'll work on another thing, but I'm not going to do this thing. Laziness is I'm not doing anything.
Okay. Well, sometimes it also boils down to your capabilities. If something has to be done, I know I'm not very good at it. And I'm not sure how it's going to turn out if I do plumbing. And I may want to wait and just call the plumber the next day, or whatever it is that I'm not very good at doing.
If I get an email and I think it might be bad news, or it might be something I need to deal with, or if I've sent someone an email that basically called them out and said, did you need to fix this? I know I can procrastinate on opening that email because Schrodinger's cat, as long as I don't open it, it's fine.
I think skill level is a really interesting thing to point out, because if I don't know how to do something, I may be pushing it off because it's going to take me extra time to figure it out, or I might be lazy because I don't want to figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, and Janice, you had brought up this point earlier, at least in our conversations about the whole prioritization. And I think some of it is the sense that you get an assignment and where is that in the pecking order? And so it may be that, okay, I can't deal with this now. You've given me the 2 weeks, but I got other things on my plate right now, so I'm going to wait. that may not be a good thing because you may wait until 2 days. And then to your point, Robyn, here comes the emergency. And now I'm really, now I've got a real problem. So I think that does play into it when you're kind of having to consider what to do. But I do agree with the others. There's an overlap as far as the two pieces, but again, to me, as a trait or however described, there are distinct differences in terms of people. And I agree, when you're lazy, it's like, I have no desire to do this. Whereas I don't view procrastination as, they know it ultimately has to get done. They're just trying to figure out, when am I going to work it into my schedule?
I'm thinking of a couple factors that were mentioned. So there's the skill level, there's the priority level, and I'm also thinking energy level. So sometimes if I'm just pure tired, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm lazy. Or if I'd rather be doing something else than what is in front of me, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm lazy. I might be procrastinating because I'd rather do something or because I don't have the energy or the skill to do that particular task right now.
I guess that begs the question, what makes something procrastination? Is the fact that I know about this and I'm not doing it right this second, is that procrastination? Well, no, if it's a different priority, then it's not. So I guess that's a question. What makes something procrastination?
Well, one thing would be pressure you're receiving. You may be pressured to do something by a boss, supervisor. It may not be what you believe is the right thing to do. So you procrastinate, looking for a way out. Because it may mean that if you do something now, it may have such ramifications that it will have a long-term ramification that you have to deal with, versus if you wait a little bit, you might be able to get by with it and the relationship is maintained, but other people don't have to deal with that relationship.
Yeah, I'd like to say I'm being strategic. I'm not procrastinating. I'm not lazy. I'm planning ahead, and I'm really assessing what needs to be done so that I'm removing anything that I don't really need to do or that's a waste of time.
I know in the email, Janice, you sent me, you talked about deprioritization, which I cannot say that word for the life of me. But the idea of saying this isn't a priority that's not the same as procrastination. That's saying I'm not going to do that right now.
And it's not being lazy either necessarily. It's saying this is not needed, or it's again a waste of time. My time could be better spent doing something else, or should be better spent doing something else.
Bill, what do you think makes something procrastination?
Well, I think there's, the point earlier about, if you have multiple priorities, you are going to look at it, is the CEO asking for something tomorrow versus, is there a request from a vendor that's looking for just general information? And you're going to put that kind of in a pattern or in your work path. And I think that really kind of indicates it. And I do think that there is an interest level. I mean, if something is, I'm really fascinated by this, man, I'm going to dig into this and really take over versus, I got to go cut the grass tomorrow. Okay, great. It's like, let me put that off. I know ultimately it has to, get done, or the HOA is going to send me a nasty letter because my yard looks crappy. But, I think that it does require, the prioritization, as we talked about, like how serious is it? And, I think procrastination for me, I mean, I know there are times where I will wait to the end, but I also feel like this just energy of, man, I'm fully focused and everything's engaged, and I'm kind of on it because I know that time frame's there versus, when you give it to me a month ahead of time, okay, I don't feel that pressure on that piece. So that's just observation for me.
I think the strategic part of prioritization, just thinking about the planning, the prioritization and putting time versus wasting my time doing something else as well, like scrolling through social media. Or I feel like the negative aspect of procrastination might be that I'm filling my time with something that I don't need to be doing.
Yeah, that's a good point, that it becomes procrastination when I'm finding things. Vacuuming, that's what I do. When I want to procrastinate, I vacuum. And I know, like, I do not need to be vacuuming right now. Why am I vacuuming? Oh, because I'm not doing this other thing. Yeah.
Versus also finding time to recharge or to rest, which is also not necessarily being lazy or procrastinating, but it's refilling my own battery. So that's also something that's needed, but might be considered or seen as being lazy or procrastinating.
And I think the higher of a performer you are, the more likely you are to see something like meditation or resting or taking care of yourself as procrastinating on things that you feel like might have higher priorities. That's a really good point. Absolutely. Yeah, so that is our 10 minutes. I'm going to cut us off there. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me and not procrastinating on showing up. I talk to you all again real soon.
Thank you.